Good afternoon, everyone. It's 2 o'clock in the East, 11 out West, Wednesday, and it's time for Freedom Watch. Streaming live from the highly acclaimed Strategy Room on FoxNews.com. I'm Judge Andrew Napolitano. We'll discuss today the issues that profoundly affect your freedom, your civil liberties, your financial liberties, your right to have a government that stays within the confines of the Constitution. We encourage you to take part in today's show. Send your tweets to Shelley Roche from BreakTheMatrix.com, SHELLYROCHE. She'll join us with your questions at the end of the program. You can also send us your emails to strategyroom@foxnews.com. Congressman Ron Paul will be up at...
Seriously?
Yes, he will. He's a regular, Shep.
I don't know.
But first, it is my great pleasure to introduce my Fox News colleague and good friend, Shepard Smith.
Ron Paul is coming.
Whose show I am privileged to appear on a regular basis.
Seems so serious.
On the other side of Shep Smith is a real treat. Trace Gallagher is
real
here.
treat.
No, Shep was the man. I was the treat, right?
You're a real treat.
Isn't that great? That's great fun. I got so many microphones on me. Look at this. I look like Ehrlichman in Watergate. I got this microphone.
I have microphone envy.
All right, in a couple of minutes, we are going to be live on the Fox News channel on Live Desk with Shep and with Martha McCallum downstairs.
That's right.
This morning,
what's going on with freedom today, Joe?
This morning on my radio show, Brian and the Judge, we had a former CIA agent who's now all over the media, an ex-undercover guy, Bob Baer, on to talk about the torture memos and the techniques of interrogation that the Justice Department authorized. And what he told me blew me away, and I want to tell you, Shep, and I want to tell our audience because it's profound. He said to us the following: the CIA exaggerated its need for these techniques and manipulated the Justice Department into authorizing them. My colleague Brian Kilmeade said, what about the second wave of attacks that they stopped? What about the third wave of attacks that they stopped? Bob Baer said there was no second wave, there was no third wave, and the CIA knows it, but the Justice Department didn't, and it gave them permission to do whatever they wanted. Are you surprised to hear that?
It's hard to be surprised much anymore, Judge. I mean, you know, could we just begin with a statement that we could all sort of agree with?
I bet I know what that is.
We are America.
And we don't.
And we don't torture.
Torture.
Now, how you come up with what is torture, that's something else. But we don't torture. We're America. We set the standard that others should. That's what we do. If we want to be the best and the leader and all that we claim we want to be, then we don't get to torture. We don't want to do that.
And yet the government has engaged lawyers who would basically tell the Bush administration everything they want. You know I read
Judge,
this because
I've got a lawyer. I can tell my lawyer, go do this for me.
And he'll
just do it. It will be done. Same thing.
So the CIA manipulates the Justice Department into letting it do whatever it wants. And I read these memoranda. That's a
matter of opinion, Judge. I mean, a lot of that's opinion, right? We got Bob Baer saying one thing. We got a lot of people saying another thing. We've had the former CIA director came out and said this stuff helped.
This
stuff did help.
We are America.
I agree.
I don't give a rat's ass if it helps.
I agree.
We are America. We do not fucking torture. We don't do it.
But here's the point. And the point is this: is that you've got two schools of thought.
Oops.
And you cannot just say, okay, this school of thought is accurate, and Bob Baer, who's trying to sell books and does a very good job of that, you still have to say, I'm not saying that torture is right or wrong. I'm not going there. I'm saying that there are two schools of thought on whether this thing was effective or not.
Doesn't matter. We don't do it.
But the memoranda themselves are so fraught with disregarding volumes of law that prohibit it. For example, the Supreme Court says the Geneva Conventions apply to these detainees. The Geneva Conventions prohibit you from touching someone unless it's to move them from one jail cell to another or to administer medicine to save their lives, much less banging their head against a wall or attempting to drown them. And these memoranda themselves say that the only thing that's torture is a near occasion of death. That's nowhere in the definition of torture. Look, torture's not an art.
Right.
Torture is something you know it when you see it.
It's
if
something
you're banging
other people
somebody's
do.
head against a wall, whether the wall moves or not, if you're attempting to drown somebody and the doctors are saying to you, one more drop and he's dead, that's torture. This is all in those memoranda. They are highly dishonest documents written by lawyers who wanted to tell the president what they assumed he wanted to hear.
But what I'm saying is that that's all fine.
Are we still going to be on your program?
It's the definition of torture. We're not on yet.
They're doing with Eric Bowling. He's on now, telling us about oil.
All right.
He's talking about oil. He's talking about General Motors job cuts. So I think the question, Judge, is you go back and nobody has ever ever been prosecuted, no other country has ever been prosecuted for torturing Americans during other wars.
Here's the great thing. We're America.
Right.
And none of that matters. We're America, and we don't torture. If you have something else to say beyond that, say it to somebody else. Because that's it.
But
there's nothing else.
But our Justice Department has prosecuted foreigners for torturing their own people in their own country, and we would allow our own American agents to do these things to foreigners.
Not as long as we still want to call ourselves America. We can't do it.
Isn't this
we got to change the name.
Isn't this an assault on our basic values? That
it is. This government is
not the American way?
By, and for me. And of, by, and for me, you don't get to torture. You don't get to do it.
So
I will toss you out.
So we're making a stand. We're saying that if it's torture, the rest of the story we don't want to hear.
We don't need it.
We don't want to hear the rest of the story.
We've always signed the documents.
Okay, but we have to give people the right to make up their own opinions.
All
okay,
right.
So Judge, if the administration has said they are revealing these memos that talk about what is torture, and we will say, okay, you're right, it is torture. Isn't there the other side of the story, like we do at Fox, that needs to be heard?
No, there is not another side. And here's what all of this really is, and you know it. What all of this really is if it was torture, that's a crime. If there's a crime, there were criminals.
Right.
If there were criminals, their names were Bush and Cheney. That is the worry from people who are trying to figure out a way to make torture okay in America. Torture is not okay. I'm sorry that the dots might, for some people, not for me, I'm not saying this, but for some people the dots connect backwards and they go, oh, they're criminals. Oh, that's not good. Then that can't be torture. That's not how this game is played. The rules are, it's torture. We're America. We don't do it. If you did it, if you authorized it, you are a criminal and you go to jail. That's it.
The government
we're up here in the strategy room. I just want to take a quick pause here. We're in the strategy room. We got Shepard Smith and the senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano, on. Very heated debate here. We're talking about the interrogation memos. Shepard has come out and said, look, here's the bottom line. In his opinion is, we are America, which means...
No, that's not opinion. We are America. We don't torture. Now you got to decide what torture is. I don't make these decisions. But I mean, who in the world is what American would say, I believe the following thing is torture, and my government, of, by, and for me, on my behalf, is going to torture someone? Nobody. Nobody.
And the question has been brought up a lot. If you're going to release, Judge Andrew Napolitano, if you're going to release half of the information, which is to say this is what happened, and we have deemed this torture, do the American people deserve the rest of the story to find out if this stuff was effective?
I think they do deserve the rest of the story, but it's a flaw in the system because the president decides what's classified and what's unclassified, so he can selectively leak whatever he wants, just as prior administrations have done. I don't blame President Obama.
No, this isn't right and left.
In fact, I commend President Obama for releasing these memoranda, as one-sided and legally disingenuous as they were. When a client asks a lawyer for advice, the lawyer should say, here's the law in favor of it, here's the law against it, here's my recommendation. These memoranda were so one-sided that the writer of them, who is now a federal judge, says in one of them, I can't even decide if the thumb screw, when they drove a screw through your thumb, or the rack, when they pulled you apart like you were an overboiled piece of chicken, are torture. That's his mindset. To him, those things aren't torture. Of course he's going to tell the CIA they can do whatever they want.
And if we're going to talk about releasing parts of memos, we need to go back to the year 2003, when we got parts of memos on yellow cake from Niger, and they were leaked to Judith Miller, and it happened on the down low. I mean, we want to talk about partials. This thing can go back as far as you want. But as Americans, this isn't a right or left issue. This is a right and wrong thing. Whatever torture is, we're America. We don't do it.
And I think what the Attorney General is saying, and Shepard brought this up earlier, is the fact that the end of this rainbow that the Attorney General is going down is the Bush administration, Judge. This is where this whole thing is going. Even though
for
the
some,
President has said,
that's why the defenders are what they are. You know?
The Attorney General said in his confirmation hearings that waterboarding is torture and that torture is criminal. He's now confronted with inescapable proof that waterboarding occurred and was authorized by the highest commands and power in the former administration. He now has to decide who, when, and under what circumstances, and whether to charge people with what he has acknowledged are criminal activities.
30 seconds. Shep, final word?
That makes it complicated. That makes it political. This is not a political issue. We signed documents. We are America. We don't torture. And if you just stay there, I think